My nutrition philosophy in midlife is trying to let go of all of the things I've had to hold on to that have gotten me to this point. I have had to be so religious about my food to heal my gut and to really get to where I am today. I really started learning more about the specifics about diet and nutrition and how it affects me because it was affecting my baby through my breast milk.
Hi, good peeps. This is the next episode of the Flexible Neurotic podcast, and I'm Dr. Sarah Milken, the Flexible Neurotic. Today, I have such a fun and cool guest. She is an integrated health coach, brand marketer, nutrition enthusiast, a mother of 3 boys, born and bred on the beaches of Southern California. She says she's living from the inside out. We're going to find out what that really means. She is involved in food, fashion, relationships, and all things health, emotional, mental, and her nutrition. Her name is Abbie Crane of her Instagram platform, House of Abbie. Hi, Abbie.
Hi.
I'm so excited to have you here.
It's such a delight. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for
when you see people on Instagram and then like you see, I'm not going to say this is real life, but it's different than Instagram. Like I'm actually talking to you. I'm seeing your lips move. I'm like, she's a real person. I have no idea how I even found you.
Maybe through our general love affair of Jennifer Fisher.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. Maybe.
Yeah. Are you wearing your hoops? Because I am.
Look at this.
Hello.
Oh my God. I mean, I'm like a hoop whore though. And now my daughter steals them and then they get mixed in with the Amazon ones. And I'm like, no. Okay, there's like 90 pairs of hoops here. You got to keep this shit out of here.
I don't have that problem.
I know with 3 boys. Yes, 3 boys. It's serious. But however, I found you in the Instagram rabbit hole. I'm so happy that you're here. And I'm happy that we can I love people who have good energy. I feel like I have like a good energy magnet. And I'm like, if you have good energy, I'm asking you to come on my podcast. And if it works, great. And we're going to dive in. We're going to dig into the midlife narrative.
Let's do it.
And I hope you have your golden shit shovel.
Oh, hell yeah. I live with that.
Next to your fucking cold plunge. Yeah, we're going to.
Exactly where I keep it.
That's a big topic for us today because I'm totally fascinated by it. But I think today's conversation is going to be 10 things or around 10 things, maybe 20 things that you've learned in midlife. Mm-hmm. And I'd love to just kind of get into it. I want to give you a visual of Abbie first. So if you're listening, she's super tall. How tall are you, Abbie?
5'11".
That's what I'm saying. It's crazy. Okay. She's super tall, super fit, blonde, very natural, gorgeous, athletic, and she's not a supermodel. She's like a real person, which is amazing.
But I'm not a real blonde.
Oh, you're not. Okay. But I promise she's a real person. And she does all of these things on her platform to promote her own health and the well-being of all of her followers. And you look at her and you're like, I'm not sure I can do that. But she sort of makes you feel like, yeah, I could try. It's sort of attainable. We're going to talk about the trampoline and all the things that you do. We're going to talk midlife marriage, midlife nutrition, midlife exercise, and empty nest. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. So a lot of who we are is how we were raised. So tell us a little bit of the Abbie Crane, kind of where you grew up, what kind of family, like what made you into the person you are today?
Oh, I was raised in the same city I'm living in today.
Amazing. Me too.
I was raised in San Clemente, California, in a sweet little 900 square foot home with one older sister named Aspen and my parents, Robert and Debbie Baker. And we were the Baker family. Did you guys have
a white picket fence?
We didn't, but we did have the little sign on our gate that says like the Bakers with like the sailboat.
Yeah, so you had the proverbial picket fence.
Basically.
Okay.
And I had a sweet childhood. It was very casual. It was very mellow. I went to private school for a couple of years, and then my parents decided to pull my sister and I out and homeschool us. My dad was a pilot. My mom was a homemaker. And we would often pack up our backpacks with, PB&Js and our markers and do our studies on the beach while my parents both surfed.
Wow.
My sister and I were forced to surf for PE. That was like what we had to do because that's what our parents did, and we hated it.
Oh
I
my
mean, we had like
gosh.
such a great opportunity to be, wonderful surfers, but my sister and I wanted to be, doing something else. But
That wouldn't have worked for me because I don't get my hair wet.
I
I'm
didn't
like
like
the
the cold
opposite of
water.
you. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
do cold water. I don't do anything uncomfortable. I don't get wet. I mean, that's what my
Yeah.
husband says. He's like, "What do you do?" I'm like, anything that doesn't involve discomfort. Except for this podcast, because there's
Or
a lot of,
midlife.
yeah, or midlife, but just not intentional discomfort. Because
Right.
I'm like, there's already so many uncomfortable parts of
I
midlife
know.
that how can I even introduce more? Oh my God.
I
So
know. That's a good point.
how did you become House of Abbie and create this health platform? Did you have the intention of doing that, or did it happen organically? Tell us the rundown.
Kind of both. That's a really great question. And it happened around midlife and my kids growing up, moving out.
So you were a stay-at-home mom, essentially.
For the majority of my life, I did model some. I have, worked here and there, but I pretty much chose a very traditional role. I wanted to get married young. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mother. So
Okay.
I got engaged at 19.
Wow.
I got married at 20. I had to use my sister's fake ID to drink at my own wedding.
Oh my gosh. Wait, did your parents get married really young also?
Not as young as I did.
Okay. Were you trying to get out of your house? What was going on there?
There is so much to that, to be honest. Like that, I feel like could be its own
Okay.
podcast. But my parents were married for 20 years and ended up getting a divorce. And it was really hard on the whole family. And I was, I think, about 14 at the time, a freshman in high school. And that's there's never a good time for a divorce. But I feel like at that point, when you're trying to think about your future and what you want to do, and you're an adolescent, adolescence is tough anyways. I was really lost. And I think subconsciously, I really wanted to put together a family and that I had lost. And when Eric came into my life, he was everything that I wasn't. He was tall, he was dark, he was handsome, he's Italian, he's from New York. Like he is just like there to make his mark, super outspoken. And I felt comfortable alongside him. And he never wanted to get married. He never wanted to have kids. He was very ambitious. And then he met me. And that's all I wanted. I mean, I have very good memories of my childhood. And, I think, like I said, subconsciously, I just needed to put it back together. And I became pretty insecure, and I kind of lost all of my personal ambition. I wanted to get married. I wanted to have kids, and that's exactly what I got. He met me, and we actually moved to the west side of Hawaii. We lived in Keikaha for a little bit.
Wow. Wait, where did you guys meet?
We met here in San Clemente at the local Italian food restaurant where he used to bus tables. And I would go in there.
So he was a New Yorker who moved to San Clemente? Did he move there to surf or something?
His mom is a big time surfer. And they
Ah.
moved from surfing Jersey Shore. She always had a dream to surf in California. And they moved here when he was like 13. And he thought this was the most beautiful place he'd ever seen.
Okay.
And so he's 4 years older than I am. So we were never in high school together, but we would see each other around town and at parties and stuff.
So you guys were both locals.
I was a local. He was the new boy in town.
Meaning like for the years that you were together since he was, did you know him at 13 or how old is he? Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I first laid eyes on him, I think, when I was 15 and he was 19, and he was just one of the cute busboys at the local restaurant.
That's so awesome. I
It's
love
pretty
it.
amazing.
It is.
He saw me and he told the waitress that my mother knew, I'm going to marry that girl one day.
No
And she
way.
was like, what the heck? You're a pervert. She's like 15. I know her mother.
Well, I've known my husband since I was 13.
Wow.
Yeah. So we went to high school together. So I
Wow.
understand that kind of like long-term thing. So I can
Yeah.
totally relate to probably a lot of the things that we're going to talk about with midlife marriage, because
Yeah.
it's very different when it's like marriage is already long enough, but when it starts so young, like my husband and I have been together consecutively, not including ninth grade, since we were 19.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah. So it was like
Exactly.
all of college and ever since then, like we've never broken up. It's just this sort of like
Yeah.
marathon.
It
Doesn't
isn't
mean he doesn't piss me off. Believe me, he
for
does.
sure.
But I mean, we're in it and we're
Oh,
staying
yeah.
in it and we're committed to it and it's
Oh, yeah.
happening and all of the things. So
Yeah.
you you kind of attached onto him, and did he
Mhm.
sort of give you your kind of definition that you were looking for?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. He proposed to me with a hair scrunchie, first thing in the morning with two double rainbows overhead in Keikaha in Kauai, and got down on one knee. We were living in a tent together in our friend's backyard. We had hadn't quite moved into our house that we were going to rent yet, and he was like, said all of the things I wanted to hear. I did not expect him to propose. I did not. Like, he definitely came on board on his own pretty quick.
Wow.
And I just remember putting that hair scrunchie on my finger, and I just like ran to call my
That's
father.
amazing. I mean, if my husband would have been so happy to get away with a hair scrunchie.
Oh,
Wow.
I could care less. Like, at the time, like, it was just, we were soul to soul, like we had a connection. I called my father. I said, you'll never guess, but Eric just proposed to me. And he said, oh my gosh, congratulations. I'll give you $5,000 for your wedding. And I was
Oh, oh my gosh. So did you, when you guys got married, did you have like, did he have that same idea of like, okay, the husband goes to work, the mom stays home? Like, what was the deal?
oh no. Yeah, I would say that, one of the beautiful things about our relationship from the beginning was that we were so willing to try something new together. I think it was the age that we were in, where we were really creative, we were really open. We're both sort of like entrepreneurs at heart. And so we all kind of, I think we're alike each other in that way, that we want to create something that hadn't been done before. So we were very hopeful and aspirational. He was raised with a working mom, and two separate homes between his mom and his dad's. And he was willing to do whatever I wanted to do. If I wanted to work, I could work. If I didn't want to work, I didn't have to work.
That's exactly how it was with my husband and
Yeah.
myself too. And I think he grew up in a house where his mom didn't work. And I grew up in a house where my mom was the opposite of that. Like, she was like a CEO, like at least 9 to 5. Like, the whole reason we could go to private school and go on a vacation was because she worked. Like, it was a whole different scenario. And I think he knew, like, it's kind of interesting because I don't think he never imagined that I wouldn't work,
Hmm.
because all he knew was the model that I grew up in of like, oh, she's for sure going to work. Like, that's what her mom does. Like, she went to an Ivy League school. She got a PhD. Like, she's going
Mhm.
to do that. And then I had my first kid and everything changed and everything. But he's been in it for whatever version of me
Yeah,
there is, which is the best thing you could possibly ask for.
it's true.
It
I
really
feel very,
is.
very blessed that way.
So how did you get into House of Abbie and all your nutritional stuff? Like, your kids were getting older.
Yeah, I've always been into health and wellness for sure. Like, my parents had a garden. We tended to it all the time. They were hippies. Um, you know, it was I loved the way that we were into health and wellness and organic, but it was never a topic.
It
It
wasn't
never,
Erewhon.
no, there was, it didn't even need to be. It wasn't
Yeah.
even, we weren't even going to farmers
It
markets.
was just like a vibe. I get it.
But we would also go to Carl's Jr. Like we
Hmm.
didn't need to be healthy. We just had, a lot of organic whole foods around, but then we would also be kids and go to 7-Eleven and buy a bag of candy. And I love that there was never, I didn't have to take my vitamins. Like I kill my kids with the vitamin conversation and they're like, we get it.
So do
You
I. I
know,
had one of those last night.
that was a lovely conversation.
Oh yeah. My son's like, why are you giving this to me now? I'm like, because you always fight me. And he's like, no, I
Yeah.
don't. I'm like, do you have amnesia?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just because you're in a
Selective.
good mood right now. Yeah.
Yeah. I know. So I never had to have those conversations. They gave us a lot of space, a lot of grace, like health. So my health journey has been um, really interesting because when I had my first son and I was nursing him, um, he cried all the time. I mean, it was
Oh,
just like, I didn't really know what to do. I was 22 years old. I would use a lactation consultant, and I really started learning more about the specifics about diet and nutrition and how it affects me because it was affecting my baby through my breast milk.
right.
Before that, I would just eat whatever felt good or sounded good. Um, so I learned a lot about health and wellness through my kids also because I was really motivated to give them the best and I really needed sleep. And if I was
Right.
eating dairy and then I would, nurse my son and then I'd lay him down, like he would get the dairy that I was eating. And then,
It's amazing that you were so young and you had enough, I don't know what the word is, but enough foresight to kind of put all of that together and find that information, because that was like before internet and social media and all that stuff. It's like you would have really had to go and seek that information.
and I think it came a lot through my childhood too. I would like to call myself a contemporary earth mom.
Mm-hmm.
My mom had my sister and I in a trailer with a midwife and no drugs. And so I wanted to do the same. And my husband was like, let's not, let's go to the hospital just in case there anything were to happen. And so I did. I hired a doula, with my second one, and we did it in the hospital. And, my mom was my both parents were very simple, of the earth kind of people. So I think that's where I got it from.
Mm.
I picked a pediatrician, Dr. Sears. He just happened to, the famous
Yeah,
pediatrician,
yeah,
Dr. Bill Sears.
yeah.
He just lived in my town. So I got to
Oh,
work with him. So he was, helping guide me through, so young. I was 22.
that's
I
amazing.
definitely had a lot of good women around me to support me. I don't feel like I had to look that far, I guess, is my point.
I love that. Now,
Yeah.
in terms of your nutrition, I know from your Instagram, you had leaky gut. Can you
Yes.
kind of give us like a quick overview for those who don't know what it is? And then we're going to kind of weave through your little health, not your little health journey, but
Yeah.
your long and winding health journey and Will Cole and all of that. So give us sort of the ups on the leaky gut.
So that I did some diagnostic testing to figure out because after the birth of my third son, I just had no energy whatsoever and had a huge distended gut and I couldn't function. And I would look at other moms walking their kids in their strollers and I'm like, how do they do that? Because I really declined in my health and my energy.
How old
And
were you?
27
Okay.
by the time I had Jack. And so, you know, I was trying to eat gluten-free because I had heard that maybe it would possibly be a gluten allergy. So I'd wake up every day and I'd have eggs and potatoes. And I knew something was wrong because every time I ate, it felt like I was poisoning my body. And I had
Oh,
uh, issues with my period. I had really bad brain fog. My stomach was huge and I was barely eating anything. My joints hurt. I couldn't get out of bed. I was struggling big time to function. And I thought, is this just because I have 3 little kids and I'm a tired
yeah,
mom? Like this
totally.
has to be something more. I went, backtrack really quick. When I was in high school, I lost my period for a couple of years. and I was playing volleyball, and I was thin, and I was going through some emotional stuff, like we had mentioned.
Yeah.
The doctor wanted to put me on hormones to bring my period back. And my mom's girlfriend recommended that I try a functional medicine doctor. And I went to that doctor. I thought I had nothing to lose. I was, in my teens. And they said, you need to eat more red meat and take some supplements. And within 6 months, my period came back.
Okay.
So I went back to that same doctor. I had been seeing her over the years, and I'm just like, I don't know what's going on with my gut. So we did some extensive testing, some cross reactivity tests to find that I did have a gluten intolerance, and I was allergic to white potato. Dairy wasn't an issue for me at the time, and still isn't, but eggs were. So I just got so much information, and it was so helpful. I felt like I was hitting my head against the wall because I couldn't figure out like what it was. And I was doing all of this guessing
Yeah.
to try to figure out.
And like you start, it's like midlife too. It's like you start thinking like, is this my new normal?
Oh,
Does everyone feel like this? And then it's like, is there something wrong with me? Should I
yeah.
not be complaining? Like, does everyone feel like shit?
Yeah. And I'm so hungry, and I'm a
Yeah.
nursing mother, and I need
Ugh.
food, and I don't know what to eat. So it was like, they just said, take these things out and then put these things in to nourish your gut. And I said, fine. Everyone was like, wasn't that hard? Not at all, because I wanted to feel well. So it was like, if you could just give me a roadmap, and I know that sesame right now is going to bother me and eggs are going to bother me, no problem. I
So
can
how
eat.
long did it take you to figure all that out and undo it all?
I mean, I'm still working on it, to be honest. My youngest is 17, but a good 4 years for my gut to heal.
Wow.
Where I didn't have to be on that same vitamin protocol. Supplements and vitamins have been a huge part of my life and my healing, but I don't have any autoimmune disease. And what was happening is my body was attacking my ovaries, and we could learn all that through the testing. So it was like, I also did take antibiotics for 7 years when I was in high school for my skin.
Oh God,
So
what a mess.
the dermatologist gave me antibiotics for
Yeah.
my skin every day, and I popped them like vitamin C. I didn't know.
I know.
So I
And when you
just,
have acne as a teenager, you're willing to do anything. I mean, both my kids just did Accutane, and it's such a harsh medication.
it
It's
is.
crazy.
I
But at the
know.
same time, like severe acne is really brutal too mentally.
Yeah.
So, I mean, thankfully, both my kids are done now, but it
Mhm.
like increased their cholesterol, like all of these weird
I
things that
know.
now we're sort of like having to work on and undo.
Yeah.
But at the
Right.
time, it's worth it to them.
Right. Yeah. I know. It's hard. You have to let them make their own choices, talk to
Totally.
them about everything, and then
Yeah.
decide. I don't think I knew when I was doing it what I was doing. The
Yeah.
doctor, didn't talk me
Well, I
through
don't
it.
think we also knew about antibiotics then, like what we know now.
I did call the doctor and I said, are you still prescribing antibiotics for people's skin? Because I didn't have bad
Oh
acne.
my God, they do, because my son's friends are all taking it.
Yeah, he goes, oh yeah, of course we do. It's a bacteria infection. And I just started crying. I was just like, a good thing that there is a lot more awareness now
Yeah,
than
for sure.
at the time.
So
But
how did you tell me about Will Cole. I know he's a big part of your life. Tell us who he is, what you learned from him, how it's helped you.
Dr. Will Cole is awesome. When he released his book, Intuitive Fasting, I bought the book, read it, and what I love about the book is it just gives you a manual to really understand the benefits of fasting. He's a functional medicine doctor. He's a telehealth doctor, and I had never worked with him before, but I had worked with, like I had said, my functional medicine doctor since I was 16. And I'm a pretty loyal person in general.
Yeah.
And I thought, let me just try Dr. Will Cole and see what findings he can discover. And how am I doing after all of these years? And it was a great experience. I learned a lot about my body. We did like the stool test, and we did the breath test, and we did a ton of blood work. And
So did he just give you the orders and you went to a local blood testing
yeah,
place? Like, how did you do it?
exactly. Yeah. They'll help you. They hold your hand through it every step of the way. It's pretty straightforward.
And so what did he find?
He found that I had parasites, and that I've done a really good job healing my leaky gut. And we talked about my hormones, and pretty much like mild to wild, I could dive in with him and work on healing my gut.
So how old were you when you got to Will Cole?
Oh, I just did it within the last 2 years.
Okay. So it's very recent. Okay.
Yeah, pretty recent. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not currently a patient of his. I did all of the diagnostics with him.
Okay.
And then I'm working with someone in person to continue like healing my health. Yeah. He does offer a fantastic program that you can work with him. I think like Jennifer Fisher does and things like that. A lot of people do.
Yeah.
I chose to work with someone in person. I love to do the applied kinesiology, where they do the muscle testing, and then you can see if the things you're taking are really right for your body. I prefer to heal in that way, so that's why.
So you use the ideas you got from his blood work with your your local functional medicine doctor.
Yes.
So that I kind of like the in-person thing too. The telehealth is hard sometimes. It makes your life easier in terms of convenience, but there is something about meeting with someone in person. Like I remember a couple months ago, I met with an endocrinologist for the first time and he only does Zoom. And I was like, this just feels weird.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to just meet the person for the first time, like have them, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I hear you.
Thing. I'm not used to the Zoom thing. And
there's pluses and minuses to both.
For sure. So what did you find from him that you've learned now in midlife that you wish you had known back then?
What have I learned from him?
Yeah.
That's a great question. Well, one of the things that I absolutely love about his intuitive fasting book is I felt affirmed from what I had already been doing.
I love that. We're all looking for affirmation, right?
For sure.
Like, oh my God, I'm a star student.
Well, it's hard. Fasting is really difficult. And my doctor here locally in Laguna Beach, Dr. Lisa Arthur from Health and Balance, has been trying to get me metabolically adapted.
What does that mean?
It means that your body can resource fat as fuel. And just not be resourcing carbs and running off of sugar. And so she would put me on certain cleanses every year. And so by the time I got to this intuitive fasting book, it was still really hard for me. I loved all of the questions in the book. Have you read that book?
I have it, but I have not read it yet. That's like
there's a nice
project.
There's a nice little quiz. You don't have to read the whole book, but just do the quiz and see like where you're at with that. How long can you go without eating, or questions like that to really understand like how medically adapted am I? And like we just went to Japan. I ate 1 meal a day. It wasn't.
I saw that on your Instagram. I was like, I don't get it. What?
It wasn't intentional. It just sort of happened because I didn't need food. Like we would wake up and we would have our tea or coffee or whatever, and then we would just start exploring. And I could have never done that before. Wow. And so it's not that I'm trying to restrict calories. I definitely love to eat and I eat a lot of food, but I just felt like my body was able to sustain itself without needing to be snacking all the time, which for someone like
husband, was your husband able to do it too?
He's better at it than I am. Which is always frustrating.
And does he do any of these health things that you do other than the cold plunge? Like, does he follow a lot of the same ideas?
We do generally a cleanse a year together.
Okay. And so what would you say is your nutrition philosophy in midlife?
That's another great question. My nutrition philosophy in midlife is trying to let go of all of the things I've had to hold on to that have gotten me to this point. I have had to be so religious about my food to heal my gut and to really get to where I am today. But I don't want to live my next half being so rule oriented. I see the benefits of what I needed to do. But when I decided to study at IAN, which is the Institute of Integrated Nutrition, I wasn't quite sure about their philosophies, and I was a little bit apprehensive to study nutrition because I didn't want to live my next chapter with eating a half of an apple and 4 almonds.
Totally.
I was like, if I learn too much about nutrition, I'm going to get so restricted. And that's just not right for me for this next chapter because of where I've been.
Right.
And
No, I appreciate that. I mean, I mean, look, my mom is gluten-free and this, and this for tons of health reasons. And I have to be honest, like the past 15 years with her, it's annoying. Like, I understand she needs it, but it's like, okay, we're having dinner at a restaurant. Can she eat this? Can she eat that? And you do sort of become a little bit of a slave to it. And it doesn't mean it's not helpful and it's not necessary, but it's
yeah.
like, can you just eat the pasta? Can you not make a big deal? But like, you don't want to be heartless either.
Well, yeah. I mean, you understand why people are making the
A
decisions that they're
100%.
making, and you want to support them in that. And it's
I kind of created this rule after a certain point because she has like IBS and autoimmune and all this stuff. And I was like,
yeah.
can you just bring it was like BYOF, just bring your own food.
Right. Yeah.
You live 5 minutes away. Everyone else is going to eat the Chinese food and you're just going to bring your own food, like your chicken and your this and your that, because it gets really hard sometimes. I'm like, I don't know how to cater to this.
I know it is really challenging. I am the person at the restaurant when they're gracious enough to ask if anyone here has food allergies, I just raise my hand and I say, yes, do you have a paper and pen? And I just put it out there. I'm sorry, this is terrible. I'm always like, this is what I can have.
Do your kids want to kill you? Are they so over it?
Not at all.
No.
My oldest one has a lot of food allergies like I do. My second one doesn't. And my youngest one, no, they're so awesome. No, they don't. I'm the one who doesn't want to have to deal with it anymore. And I totally believe that food is medicine. So I commend your mom for trying and doing her best,
Me too.
especially because she has all of that.
I know.
I think it's all just in your approach to it and the way that you don't make everyone around you suffer because you are, it can be a Debbie Downer for sure.
Yeah, no, I know. I don't think she 100% at the time needed to, but one doctor told her to. So she kind of stuck with it. And then she sort of regretted it because she's like, now I can't just be, sort of like what you're saying a little bit. It was like she became so tied to those rules that her body wouldn't accept anything other than that. So anytime she tried to eat something that had gluten in it, it was like her stomach would go crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the things that I loved about IAN when I heard about their 2 philosophies.
And what are they?
Number 1 is bioindividuality is huge, which is what's right for you isn't right for me. And what works for me might not work for you. And I just was like, okay, yes, because I hate hearing things like this is so right that everyone must prescribe to this.
Right.
We're just all so different and individual. And I love that approach. And then the second thing is primary food versus secondary food is another one of their philosophies. And I'd never heard that term.
I've never heard of that with all of my being around the block. I've never heard
Right?
that. What is that?
So secondary food is the food on our plate. Primary food is your joy, your career, your spirituality, your family. It's everything that nourishes you off of the plate. I mean, it's insane. So
it's kind of like the live to eat, eat to live kind of thing.
What is that?
It's sort of like that phrase, because like my kids are foodies, but my husband and I aren't. So they're like,
Okay.
well, you don't care what restaurant you go to. And we're like, yeah, well, we're just like happy to be in this new city. We could care less about the food. It's kind of like, we're just
Yeah.
eating to live. Like my
Yes.
husband will just have toast for dinner, whereas my kids are living
Yeah.
to eat. They're like,
Yeah. I get
no, we
that.
want to have the sushi. We want to go to the steak restaurant. Like
Yeah.
we're loving the food and the texture and the this and then that. And
Yeah.
my husband and I are kind of like, we could eat the same thing every night for dinner.
Yeah. You're like, just not a big deal. We're just going to
Yeah,
eat,
not a
go
big
back to
deal.
living.
Totally.
Yeah. And this I thought was beautiful. Like, do you remember when you were young and you would play outside and you would be having so much fun with your friends? And then maybe the street lights would go on and your parents would call you in and say, it's time for dinner, Sarah. And you'd be like, I'm not hungry. I'm like having
Totally.
so much fun. I'm so filled up in my life. And that's sort of the idea of primary food and how much it feeds us and nourishes us. And it's to have the conversation between your emotional nourishment and your physical nourishment.
No, I
And I think,
completely understand that. I interviewed a doctor, Adrienne Youndim, who wrote a book about she's an obesity doctor, and she
mhm,
talks about, are we hungry for food or are we hungry
yeah,
for other things?
yeah,
And she talks about
exactly.
women coming into her office who are like, I need to lose 40 pounds. I need to lose 40 pounds. I'm starving all the time. I'm snacking. And she's like, but what's really underneath there? Are you
Yeah.
bored? Are you itchy for something new? Are you looking for a passion? And she's
Mhm,
found that a lot of people, like you said, are hungry for nourishment from other things, but they think it's food.
exactly. Exactly. And so when the founder, Joshua Rosenthal, created IIN over maybe 30 years ago now in New York, he said that he was working with clients one-on-one. And, young women would come in and they would want to talk about their diet, but they might have a black eye.
Right.
Clearly
Exactly.
something was going on at home. And he's
Mm-hmm.
like, I can't have this conversation with her about needing to have more broccoli or drink more water. It's not about that right now.
When her
And
basic
so,
needs aren't being met.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so he realized that any conversation about nutrition starts with your emotional health.
I love that. And what do you think you've keyed into in terms of finding more nourishment avenues in your midlife? Like, how have you done that? And what would you say they are?
It's almost like showing up here today. It's having like the yes mentality.
Totally.
I just want to give myself the freedom to have a reinvention because I'm at this phase. I'm going to be 45 and life is not what you thought it would be, but it's so beautiful. And I just don't want to be stuck in a box in anything in the way that I'm thinking about things. I feel like I would be the first one to put myself in a box. And so I really want to, I've been taking a step back and just reminiscing and giving myself an opportunity to rethink things. And I want to say yes to things. I want to
Would you
try
say
things.
it's like the creating of more space for yourself?
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not talking myself out of things before I give myself an opportunity to just try it. It's the idea of just lean in.
I know. Isn't it interesting, Abbie? I mean, you can relate to this because you have 3 older kids too. It's like when our kids are little, we're like, Jake, go play soccer. You've never played before. Like, go take the art class, Marin. Like, go take the tennis lessons. And they're like, but we're really bad at it. But we don't put those same expectations on ourselves to try new shit, to say
Mhm.
yes to a podcast that could be like, wait, I don't know what she's going to ask me. And
Yeah,
what if I don't answer the question right? Or blah, blah,
yeah,
blah. Like we have all of these basic sort of fears. But if we stand behind the fear and we never get ahead of it and never say, yes, I'm scared, but I'm going to do it anyway, then
mhm,
we are stuck in these boxes, but we try to
for
make our
sure.
kids do it all the time.
Oh, 100%. What is that quote? It's like the hardest thing for a child is the unlived life of a parent.
Oh, totally. And you're in it too, because isn't your third kid applying to college right now?
Yes.
Oh, at least it's your third. You've already been down the road twice. This is my first. So I'm like, Don't go to this college for me or that college for dad or this or that. This shit is all about you, what
Yeah.
you want for
Yeah.
your life. You're the one who has to live there for 4 years. You're the one who has to
Yeah.
study these topics. And please,
Totally.
please, please pick
Mm-hmm.
something for you and not for us.
Mm-hmm.
It's such an important thing, and it's hard to do as a parent because you raise these kids and you're like, God, I really know that I think that this would be really good for him, but
Yeah.
we're literally not saying a word.
Right. Yeah.
We're just like, you pick, you decide, you figure it out. And at the same time, not every decision they're going to make is going to be the right decision.
Exactly.
And I also say, like, everything's changeable.
Yes.
Most things are changeable. It's like if you go to a college and you think it was going to be the best choice of your life and it doesn't end up being it, then you can switch. Not
100%.
everything is a life sentence, and I really want my kid. It's not about being spoiled and being a brat and like, oh my God, I can just change it if I don't like it. But it's like, there are things in life that you can change. Like my kids switched high schools. They didn't have to, they wanted to.
I think that that's, unfortunately, we learn more through what we don't like and through mistakes. And it wouldn't really be a mistake if they go to a college that they don't like. They just learn more about themselves
Totally.
and what they want. And what they want, they find through what they don't want. And I think it's nice to give yourself the freedom to change high schools. If you go to one and you don't like it, how lucky are we that we have options and
Yeah.
don't just like make yourself work through it. I mean, if there is another option that is you're better suited for.
Now, having 3 kids, did your first two, they both went to the same school?
They did, and that was not intentional. And the
Okay.
college counselor said, "Now, do you want your third son to go to that school?" We're like, "No, we didn't even want our second one to go there." We're like you, that we're having no say in it.
Okay, but your third one seems like, from what I see on your Instagram, like he's having a different journey.
Very much.
Like he's not wanting to surf in Malibu. He's wanting to like go to Japan.
Yes, exactly.
How's that?
It's really fun. Now that we've kind of like worked through some of the friction of like earlier adolescence and it's so funny. His issues are my issues. It's like I'd like to think that they're his, but they're really my issues with what I'm comfortable with, how much like grace I can give myself, and ultimately I can give it to him. It's a reflection, right? It's like a mirror.
So what would you say his issues are that are your issues?
Well, he has always wanted an old car. He's always wanted to work on an old car. And I was like, I don't want an old car in my driveway. Like I don't want to have a driveway full of all of his car shit. And then I'm like, do I really want to be that mom? Like as I hear about what his dreams are, like he was the kid who was playing with Legos. He did magic tricks. Then he started doing Minecraft on the computer. Then he built computers during
You're describing my kid right now, Abbie.
Yeah. And now
he just told me he's getting his pilot's license. I was like, what the fuck? I can't deal with this. You're giving me like a nervous breakdown.
Right. So is that his issue or yours? It's more yours than his, right?
It is. And I said to him, I'm like, I understand that like your brain works like that. And you, on top of that, you're like an adrenaline dopamine chaser. But like, I don't know as your mom if I can handle that. And my husband's like, shut up. And I'm like, I can't.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like
it's so
we can
hard.
still share how we feel about it and then talk them through it and be their mom and still have those opinions and feelings of like love and fear that we have.
My son, right before this recording, just to set me off, he very rarely texts me. I mean, meaning like, he's like, every time I text you, it engages you into a whole conversation. All I want to do is ask you one thing, right? I'm sure you can relate to that with one or all 3 of your children.
Oh, yes.
Right? It's like, I just had one fucking question and now you're going and going. But anyway, he sends me a video of himself wearing earrings. Mm-hmm.
Does he have the JF hoops too?
No, they were like diamond studs. Obviously, they were magnetic, but he was testing. He was like,
Yeah.
what's she going to say to that? And I just wrote back,
Double, or how did he do it? What was the
no,
style?
it was just like a diamond stud in each ear with his
Okay.
sunglasses on and his like curly hair, whatever. He looks like your son's, but about 12 inches shorter. So we have the Jewish genes over here. We don't have the Baker genes. We don't have the San Clemente genes over here. We have the Jewish short genes.
Your son's adorable. I've seen pictures of him.
Thank you.
He's
But he
so
said,
cute.
but he just like wanted, he's the kid. He always does the right thing most of the time, but it's like he wants to test those boundaries a little bit. Like the fighter pilot thing like the pilot's license thing the other day. Then today was like, what's she going to say about the earrings? And I'm like, I just wrote back, oi. That's all I wrote. But then I guess my daughter must have seen him at school. So then she texted me a picture. She's like, what do you think of Jake's earrings? And I'm like, whose are they? And then she like names the kid. And then I just left it. I was like, you know what? It's just funny because my husband is very conservative. Like he has the perfect haircut. He has the same 6 outfits. There's no variation. He's going to die. He's going to die when he hears this, but he knows it's true.
Yeah.
Okay. So having a son like ours, who on paper, it's like, yes, he has these grades and these scores and yada, yada. He's like, has the chrome hearts rings on and the beaded necklace and like the curly TikTok hair. And he's ordering vintage clothes. And I know my husband is like dying. He's like, what the fuck is happening here?
It's a generational thing. It happens every
such a dance though. I'm like, don't say a word. He's going to be on to the next thing.
That's right.
In 5 minutes,
That's right. It's such a fun time of life too.
It
like
is.
when you reflect, it's like over in a flash.
Totally. I'm like, okay, he's halfway out the door and he's wearing somebody else's earrings right now. Like, I don't even know what to say. And he thinks I don't know. And he's like, and I'm getting my pilot's license. And I'm like, okay, all right. Because he has a friend who got one. And it seems so like doable and plausible that like, he's like, I could do that too. And I thought, okay, right.
One of my son's friends did that, went through the whole program, loved it. I mean, it's one of many things that he's doing, but
but then you like think about like all those things that do happen. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't even think about that right now. So I'm just like trying to
my father's a pilot.
Really?
My father's a pilot. And I went through a little bit of anxiety after the birth of my children, and I had a hard time flying. And, he's always like, it's way safer than it is.
That's what my husband's like rattling off all the statistics of why it's okay, because he obviously wanted to go do that too.
Oh, maybe they'll do it together.
Yeah, no, that's what he wants to do. So he wants me to approve both of them flying.
Wow.
And I'm like, just shoot me now. Like, what?
Know. Oh, that's a hard one.
And they also went through, my husband was going to buy an old car.
Yeah.
And fix it up with Jake. And I was like, not in this fucking house.
Right?
Right. He's like, well, my mom has an extra garage. I was like, yeah, fine. Have a good time in that garage over there.
Well, that's nice. Yeah. I know. I finally said yes. And honestly, it's been the best thing.
I know. I let him do what he needs to do, but it doesn't mean that I'm not dying inside. But getting back to nutrition, because we could talk about our kids for 50 years, you basically, what I hear you saying is you had to follow all of these food rules for so long.
Yeah.
And now that you're in a certain good health space, you're like, where can I saw you eat a matcha cookie the other day at breakfast.
Yes.
Right. Or you had a matcha and you ate a cookie with it.
Right.
It's like you wouldn't have been able to do that for yourself before.
I wouldn't have given
felt
myself
badly
permission.
about it. Yeah.
I wouldn't have given myself permission to do that before. And so back to your previous question of what does it mean to live from the inside out? It means that I'm allowing myself enough grace to check in with how I'm feeling on the inside and get out of my head and everything I've prescribed for myself, and trust that if I want to have this cookie for breakfast because that's what I'm feeling right now, that I'll trust my next choice too. And that, not talking myself out of the joy of the moment and allowing the chips to fall where they may in my next. And if I want to have the cookie for breakfast, then be there now and be where you're going to be next when you're there. Because I'm always a forward thinker, a planner, a list maker. And, there are benefits to that, but that's just not where I want to be living right now. I'm trying to learn to be more in the moment and more inclusive of how I feel. And if I'm going to feel, joyful one moment, then allow that to happen. And if I'm going to feel grief or sadness in the next, then welcome that too. And it's not easy. I don't know why it doesn't come more naturally for me to allow all of my parts to just exist. But I feel like part of the midlife benefit is having more space to check in with myself, because I was all in with my 3 boys. It was the best job I ever had. I loved it so much, and I can't believe how fast it went by. But we were so busy, and we were running here and there and doing this and doing that, and it was the joy of my life. And I'm sad to see that time go, but there are so many hidden benefits that I'm starting to live into, as that is part of my past. And I love being their mother and will love being their mother forever. And the phases that they're in now as adults is so satisfying to see. But, I'm just giving myself more time right now to get to know myself in a whole new way and just let it be.
I love everything that you just said, because first of all, I'm a master ruminator. Okay. My husband is the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
He is, what's the next step? What's the next step? And a lot of times I want to punch him and be like, this is not normal. Like, you can't think about everything in such a compartmentalized way. Like, why aren't you stressed about this or that? And he's like, Sarah, because it hasn't happened yet. And I'm like, ah! And he's like, no wonder your cortisol is off the charts. I'm like, I know. I'm like, I'm worrying for 12 people here. But
Hence the medical bag, that there's some benefits.
I trust me. But it is something that I am trying to create more space for myself. And meditating doesn't come naturally to me. It's hard for me.
Sure.
So I'm like, okay,
yeah,
I'm going to get on the app. I'm going to do it in the morning. I'm going to check it on my list. And even though I don't fully resonate with it yet,
sure.
I'm trying to create this habit so that I do seek it out.
Mm-hmm.
Not most new things are not easy to adopt into a habit or create into a habit.
Yes.
Especially when they feel uncomfortable.
Right. And how uncomfortable is it to sit still when you don't get the opportunity to?
Yeah, it's so interesting. But I love what you said about kind of leaning in. Now, what are the sort of quote benefits you're seeing of kind of your kids being off and you having more space? Does it ever feel stressful? Like, who am I now?
Yeah, I've had those thoughts for sure. And I love that. I love that life just continues to expand and grow, and everything that we've learned just builds on that. Who am I now is probably something that I'll continually always ask. And it's like a visual of dropping into my skin instead of climbing up. I feel like I'm trying to just drop down more into who is Abbie and who am I giving her freedom to be?
It's so interesting for you and for me because it's
Mhm.
similar in terms of age, but like
Mhm.
you were with your husband at such a young age.
Yes.
And then you had kids very soon. And your
Mhm.
whole sort of identity
Mhm.
has been you, Abbie, as a wife, and you, Abbie, as a mom.
Mhm.
And you sort of then get to this midlife point when your kids are older and your husband's going to work and all of these things where you're left with just Abbie and you're
Yes.
like, who am I now?
Mhm.
Yes, I'm still a mom, but my mom role is different. Yes,
Yep.
I'm still a wife. And maybe that's going to become even harder because it's my husband and I together more hours without our kids and without all the games and the surf and all of the stuff.
Yeah, I
And it's
know.
like, wow, that's a lot of alone time. It's
Yeah.
it's it's crazy what midlife brings. And you're just like, okay, can I
Mhm.
accept this? But it's not just accepting it and taking it. It's like accepting it and making it better,
Yeah.
accepting it and building upon it, evolving.
Yeah, it's so well said. I've been spending a lot of time thinking about who I was from the beginning.
Totally.
So much time reflecting about like who young Abbie was, and it's just so fun. Giving myself, the permission to be who I want now, give myself a lot of forgiveness and know that we are all survivors and have made it thus far. What a gift life is. So grateful to get to live another year. And, we've all been through so much.
I mean, honestly,
And this year, fun
I
things have happened. Like I went on a trip with my father. I went on a trip with my mother. I got one-on-one time with them. And like, who would have thought that would have happened? I never would have even thought about that. I mean, there's just so much joy to be had. I went on a girls' trip. I haven't done much of that. Um, and it feels good. It feels good to get out and it feels good to lean into things that, are unexpected and really fun.
so that leads me into midlife marriage. And then we're going to go back to supplements and alternative
Okay.
modalities. So
Okay.
let's talk about midlife marriage for a second. And then we're going to get back into the health stuff.
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay. So you've been with your husband for 10,000 years.
Yep.
And
Check.
I remember seeing on your Instagram, I don't remember exactly what you said, but it was something about, wow, I've been married for a really long time.
Mhm.
And now X, Y, and Z. So tell me what that looks like for you.
I heard Gwyneth Paltrow say something once, and it was like, I'd never heard it quite like this. But, you know, she's in her second marriage, but all of her girlfriends from high school or college are all still in their first marriage, but they're living a second marriage within their first.
Yes.
And I was like, exactly. That's what we're doing. We have been married for so long and we're the same people, but we're also not. And I love that we give each other enough space to just be who we want to be. And, we have established a certain cadence, a certain dance, a certain rhythm up until this point. And we're like, do we want to keep that same two-step going? Or do we want to switch it up a little bit? And it's been a lot of really hard conversations, about what do we want for our relationship moving forward? And do we like the habits that we've created? And, we kind of have this visual of like, whatever our issues are, let it be the elephant in the room and just talk about it always. And just like be willing to sit there and be uncomfortable and have the hard conversations because, he and I need to do that. We've needed to go to therapy, talk about where we've been and what we want. And it kind of takes me back to who we were when we met when we were young. It's like we were willing to dream big and talk about what kind of relationship we wanted then. And now we kind of are renegotiating, do we want what we've had? And one of the things I love most about Eric is his willingness. Like he's just such an open kind of guy. He's very creative in every way, and it shows in our relationship
Mm-hmm.
that he's just he's not a stuck kind of person. He's just willing to have any kind of conversation and doesn't need anything to be a certain way. It's like he just has no ceiling on anything, and that's one of the good things about working with someone or living with someone in a marriage that is so creative. He can be creative in our relationship too.
Mm-hmm. What do you think has been the hardest thing in midlife? Is it just that the lack of novelty, kind of like you're living the same day over and over again? Because, when you look at research, it shows that like as human beings, we crave novelty every 5 to 7 years. So it's like when you're married to the same person, it's like, okay, how am I going to kind of reinvent this wheel here? How am I going to date my husband again within a marriage that's been going on for so long?
To be honest, I think the hardest thing for me personally is to have something new. I've had to let something die, and it's being willing to feel the death. It's not that it's like I look to nature for that. And when you see a fire, it's like you don't just have a fire without feeling the fire. I mean, we've had to really allow a discontent, but it's intentional. Like we will feel like we're not really bonded at the moment, and we're aware of that. And that's hard. It's like when you're going through have you heard like the repotting phase, when you're just like growing in your roots, and then you like pull them out and you got to go into another pot so you can grow into that. It's really those in between moments for me that are the hardest, because you're committed to each other, and you want to work on it, and you're going to get to that next phase of connection. But it's really like allowing the disconnection. That's the hardest part. It's like being in the death of the past or of the old way before you see the new growth, before you experience springtime, before you see the little buds of hope. It's just sitting in the shit.
I could not agree more, and I call it like cycling for us. It's like there are times where there's weeks or months where I'm like, he's not even understanding anything that I'm saying. Is he listening to a word that I'm saying? Like we're like passing ships. Because we had a big move last year. We sold our house, like that we had lived in for 18 years with our kids.
Wow.
It's like we had so many different things going on. And I was like, I just feel so disconnected. But then it's like 2 months later, like you said, once you get through that like gross, groggy stage, you're like, okay, wait. Like we do want to have lunch together. We do want to have dinner together. We do want to do things together. So I think so many of us stay in relationships that we shouldn't. And so a lot of us kind of bail on relationships before we should.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's finding what works for you. Like Jeremy and I will know that we will always be together. So it's not like anyone's ever is leaving, but it's just trying to find, like you said, that like cadence in between.
Yeah. I mean, Eric and I were really honest with each other, and we said we love each other. We'll always love each other. But do we want to be together for the rest of our life? Or, do we want to work on this to see if we can love each other in a new way? I mean, that was a really honest, real, hard conversation to have. It's just out, all out on the table. But so much growth has come from just being able to lay it down that way.
And I think also, in my experience in life and just through this podcast, like I really have realized that marriage is a co-creation project. Like nobody's a mind reader. No one is going to know what you're thinking. And a lot of the times, even if you don't think they're a mind reader and you tell them what you're thinking, like I'll say a million things and I'm like, is he not processing that? I know he's like off the charts smart. Like, why is he like not getting what I'm saying? But I do think that we all have a part to play. And I think one of the biggest things I pulled from this whole experience is that we can't expect someone else to fulfill our needs.
No.
And that's one of my big takeaways, I think, in midlife is I think I secretly expected him to like come up with what my second half of life was going to look like, or
Sure.
what my new project after my kids was going to be, or Amazon, like I said a million times, was going to bring it. Amazon never came and Jeremy never gave it to me. And I was like, fuck, what am I going to do now? You know, and that's, I think how, you know, I know how this podcast was born, is that we have to create our own meaning outside of our spouse, outside of our partner, outside of our kids. No one can do that for us. And it's so annoying.
But it feels so,
but it feels so
good.
good when you do it, but it's so uncomfortable.
It's really uncomfortable. Hence why I step into the cold plunge. It's a practice that I'm getting, getting comfortable with.
Oh my gosh. So let's talk about your alternative modalities, Miss Health Queen. Let's talk about the cold plunge first.
Yeah, it's so funny because I had always had this attraction to try it. And I have no idea where that came from. But I had seen it and I knew that it was trending, but I knew that it was, you know, a technique that's been around from the beginning of time. And I had bought a sauna during COVID and my girlfriend had it. So I went to look at her sauna and she had a cold plunge. And I was like, oh, I've always wanted to try this cold plunge. And she's like, okay, let's do it together. And so the very first time I did it was with a neighbor, and she sat me down in her living room. She got an app out and we did a breath work app, like 10-minute breath work class. And I was like, it was funny because she had so much reverence for what was about to happen. And I was sort of like so new and excited. I was like, let's just do it, you know? But once I got in that cold plunge, I understood and appreciated the little ceremony she gave me before I did it. Because you really have to sort of like draw from deep within and be really ready to work with your breath and just kind of have like this calm, steady. You know, there are those people that are just natural and they can step right in and they can just deal with it. But there is this fight or flight that kind of kicks up about that minute mark. And when you know that it's going to come and you know that you're safe, it helped me that I sort of had that little backstory. She talked me through it before I got in. So when I did hit that mark, I could just focus on my breath and like, you know, kind of write it out. I was hooked. I was like, I came home. I'm like, Eric, you've got to go try Rachel's cold plunge. It was so amazing. And he loved it too. I mean,
oh my God.
Yes,
I want to tell listeners, it literally, imagine like a white bathtub. I guess it doesn't have to be white, but Abbie's is white. It's like a white bathtub with freezing cold water. How cold is that water?
39 degrees.
Okay, I can't even get into my pool at 65.
I know.
That's not normal.
It's not. It is not. And, you know, you can pick the temperature and you don't have to start it that cold. That's the coldest that it goes. But it is all in our mind. And, you know, of course, if you have pre-existing health conditions, it's always good to have, you know, a conversation with your doctor about it. But because I don't, I felt very comfortable stepping into it. You know, science shows that if you're in there for 3 minutes, then that's when you get most of your health benefits from there.
I read something about 11 minutes a week. Is that true?
You know, it depends. Every body's different and every season is different. So like right now, my acupuncturist is actually having me pull back and not do it as much. You know, I'm craving my broths and my soup.
Totally.
And, you know, it's just cold out more. So she's like, just do it a couple times a week. To be honest, it's hard for me to step back from it because I'm so addicted to the good feeling that I get after I do it.
And what are the benefits of cold plunge?
Well, the brain clarity is amazing. It activates brown fat. So, you know, it encourages your metabolism to speed up. It's really good for immunity. It regulates your hormones.
And you have your whole family doing it. I see your kids in there.
Oh, they love it.
I feel
my husband.
I feel like Jake and my husband could do it. I feel like, well, my daughter too. She's pretty balls to the wall. I feel like I'm such a wimp. I don't know if I could do it.
Well, you could, and it's all just your mental state going in. Like when you get into your pool, your mind might be thinking, this is supposed to be warm. This is supposed to be enjoyable. If you set your mind to like, this is going to be uncomfortable, and I know that I'm going to be fine, and I know that I actually might end, like the feeling afterwards, you don't go into it thinking this is going to be enjoyable. You just go, this is going to be hard and I can do hard things. It's such a good emotion.
Well, that's what Glennon
practice.
Doyle says. Glennon Doyle told me I could cold plunge, so here I go.
Exactly. Put on your favorite song,
Totally.
you turn the music up and you just get into it.
Oh
And
my gosh.
you can totally do it.
It's impressive. Okay, so let's talk about it. You cold plunge,
Yeah.
you hot sauna.
Yeah.
How often do you do the sauna?
I like to do it every day, but realistically, maybe every other.
Okay. I haven't done the sauna. I have a sauna that came with the house, but I haven't done it because I have really bad melasma. And they say that if you heat up your body temperature too much, it can like bring it out more. So as much as I want to do it, I'm sort of avoiding it.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's kind of interesting. And what are the other things? Okay. So you also dry brush. Tell us about the dry brushing, because that at least sounds reasonable to the average person.
I try a lot of things. Like oil pulling didn't work for me. You put some oil in your mouth, you swish it around, you spit it out. Like I never felt any benefit from that. So I just said, to hell with it. I'm not going to keep going with that. Dry brushing, on the opposite, I felt the benefits right away. Wow. It's really invigorating. It wakes me up. Like it feels.
So when do you do it?
In the morning.
So you get a dry brush and you just start brushing your body in an upward motion.
Yeah. You start at your feet and you always go towards your heart.
Right.
So even if you're like up on your neck, then you'll go down. I start at my hands and I go all the way up towards my heart, go up the side. I mean, it's really simple, straightforward, like maybe 5 minutes max. You can put oil.
Does your skin come off? Like you're shedding?
A little bit. You don't see it. You don't notice it. Okay. You can put oil on first if you want the oil. I like to do it dry. Okay. I like the feeling of the friction. And then I just feel a little energy surge from it. Before I had the cold plunge, I would dry brush and then get in the cold shower.
No way. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that would just you just feel like you're ready for anything. So if I wake up kind of tired and I'm going to go work out, dry brush first, put on some lotion.
So that's like Abbie's Adderall.
Yes, exactly. Totally. And my matcha. I don't know. I've never tried Adderall.
I know, I haven't either, but that's how they describe it. I'm like
you just kind of get woken up. Or what?
Totally. Like Stimulant City. Okay. What about chlorella algae?
Oh yeah. So that's funny. So when I went to Hawaii to visit my dad, I'm like, Dad, you're 70. You look amazing. I think he did his first Ironman when he was 60. I was like, what supplements do you take, Dad? And he's like, none. Like, I don't take any supplements. I don't take any vitamins. But because he lives on the Big Island, they do have this spirulina chlorella. And I think that spirulina, maybe it's huge in the athlete world. Yeah. And it's a real clean protein. It's, it's really full of.
It's green. It's
a superfood. Yeah. Yes. And one of my followers sent me a DM because Dr. Will Cole was interviewing a woman who had just created a brand. I think it's called Energy Bits or something. And it's chlorella and spirulina. I listened to that on the way home from Hawaii. And that's my latest addition to my protocol is spirulina. It's good for skin, hair, nails. It's more potent than the collagen powder.
So do you do the liquid dropper that you put in your water, or you do these little pills that come in the bag from Amazon?
All of it. Just I have it all around so I can just get it in however I can.
And do you have any side effects from it? Like, does it make you nauseous? Do you have to have it on an empty stomach with food?
No, you can eat it with food. The spirulina, I like to put it in my protein shake. I like to eat it with nuts, but it gets kind of stuck in your teeth. I have that during the day.
Those are the little bits?
Yes.
What are those called? So I can put it in the show notes?
Yeah, there's one called Beauty Bits.
Okay.
And it's really just the way she calls them beauty bits because that's how she's marketing it. Because I feel like women understand being marketed to for their
Yeah,
hair, skin, and their
totally.
nails.
Totally.
But there's also another one. I forget what it's called because I don't buy it, but it's the same ingredient of spirulina, but it's a different package.
Got it.
But then the chlorella I take at night because it cleans your blood.
Is
And
that the dropper?
they have it in a dropper form too, but they also
Okay.
have it in the little bits.
Now, when you say bits, are you chewing them or swallowing them?
Either one.
Oh,
You can do either one, or you can put it in your shake. If a lot of people don't like the flavor, I don't mind the flavor, so I don't mind
okay.
chewing it. But you definitely have to have floss afterwards.
That's like when I eat chia seeds. Chia
Exactly.
seeds kill my teeth. I'm
I
like,
know,
oh
me
God, I
too.
feel like I have to do an excavation when I'm done.
You do for
Oh,
sure.
like you can't just like eat your oatmeal and run. It's like, okay, eat
No.
your oatmeal, excavate, then go. I mean, unless you're my UPS guy flosses at my front door and I can see him on the camera. I almost died.
What? How
Yeah.
does he have an extra hand to floss? I
I
don't
don't
get
know,
it.
but I was traumatized. You know, like the flossing, like the pick thing that has the little piece of string across it, so you don't
Yeah, that
need
I
two
see in
hands.
parking lots everywhere. It's
Ah,
disgusting.
yeah, I know. I can't. Okay, so you do. Is there a way we could create a routine out of it? So it's like, would you do? Did you say you do the chlorella at night?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Mhm.
the chlorella bits
Yeah.
at night, and
Before
then
bed. Mhm.
okay, and then what do you? Let's talk about supplements since we're here. I know your
Okay.
supplement thing could be 27 hours. So if you were
I
going to a
know.
desert island and they're like, Abbie, you can take 5 things.
Definitely magnesium because it helps keep me regular. So
Okay.
anytime I travel, I don't travel without my magnesium.
Okay,
It
but
works.
which magnesium? There's like 3 kinds. There's like the what?
Citrate.
Okay, citrate.
Yeah.
And how much do you take?
Well, don't do what I do because I take 5 a day.
Oh my
And
God.
yeah, 2 in the morning and 3 at night. My husband takes like two and he just has to stay home just in case, you know. So don't start with five, start with one and
Right.
work your way up, you know, be mindful.
And do you do that because you want to poop more than once a day?
No, just because I don't want to be constipated.
And you need so, but doesn't that make you feel tired and groggy to take all that magnesium?
No, that's a different kind of
Fascinating.
magnesium. That magnesium, and I don't even take magnesium at night, that one to help me go to sleep.
Oh, you don't.
No,
So so wait, which magnesium is it? This is my midlife brain talking.
I take magnesium citrate during the
Citrate.
day to keep me regular.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, it
But you
may
could,
be, it might be glycinate. Now I'm forgetting which one it is that helps you sleep, but it might be magnesium glycinate. I'm gonna have to look.
okay, what brand do you use?
Honestly, the one I take is Nature's Way, but
Okay.
it's just the one that I've always been on.
Because
So I haven't deviated.
a lot of people like the pure encapsulation one or something. It's like
Okay.
it's the white bottle. Okay, so
Yeah.
in addition to magnesium, what do you take?
Fish oil for sure.
Okay, is there a specific brand or do you have opinions on it?
I love Metagenics. It's like a
Okay.
classic. It's, you know, it's a real trustworthy brand.
Do you burp
Uh,
fish?
I don't. Do
Okay.
you?
No, but some people do.
Yeah, I know.
And do you take it at night? Do you take it with food? Like, what's
I
your
I don't
routine?
take it with food. I take it whenever I remember.
Okay.
But
Okay.
you know what I
So,
really like the fish oils is I feel like it really helps my PMS.
hmm.
And I also feel like with my PMS, I get backaches. And if I stay really consistent with my fish oil, it minimizes all my PMS and backaches.
Wow.
So it's
Okay.
motivating for me to keep on it.
Wow. Okay. What else?
And then the classics like the C and the D and the zinc, you know, for immunity.
Okay. So the D, do you do the one that has the K with it? Because they say that
Yes.
if you take the vitamin D, you have to have the K so that it absorbs properly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's a
Okay.
liquid. So I
Oh,
take that one.
so how many IUs a day are you taking?
That's a good question. Maybe 1,000?
Now, do you find that the liquid is more bioavailable? Is that why you take it?
Yeah, and it's just easier.
Mm-hmm.
I
Now I've got,
wanted to go to Japan and bring nothing. And I told my acupuncturist, I'm like, you know what? My gut is feeling so good right now. I think I just might have like a week off from like bringing all my supplements. She's like, um, let's just see, So she's like
yeah,
checking with the applied kinesiology. She's doing muscle testing. And she was like,
no,
I don't think so. I think you're not going to be able to read the labels. You're not going to be, knowing what you're eating. I think you should just bring a few things. You don't have to bring as much, but just make your little Ziploc baggies. And honestly, I'm so glad that I did because I'm working on clearing some parasites right now with her. So she's got me on some unique cell core products, and they've been working really well for
what
me.
word is that?
Cell core.
What is that?
It's a new product line that does a really good job just like clearing any issues that you have from like the root. They're really powerful. Look into them. They're great products.
Wow, I
She's got
will.
me on a whole cell core protocol.
Okay, so where are you in the kind of like midlife menopause blah blah blah?
Yeah, so I haven't really experienced any perimenopause yet,
Okay.
but I have been doing bioidentical thyroid for 10 years
Wow.
and testosterone cream for 10 years.
That's
So
a long time.
super. And
Wow.
it wasn't intentional. So when I was 35, I went to the Hall Center in Santa Monica for sort of a second opinion about my vitamin protocol that I had been on for quite some time. And they were so impressed. They were like, I cannot believe this vitamin protocol you're doing for your leaky gut. We commend you. This is incredible. Who's your doctor? And I said, Dr. Lisa Arthur in Laguna Beach. And they're like, hands down, this is like the best vitamin protocol I've ever seen. So stay
Wow.
on that. And she goes, but would you like to talk about your hormones? And I was like, 135. I wasn't thinking about it, but I'm here. You've already drawn my blood. You're looking at everything. Yeah, like let's talk about it. And so they saw that I was a little deficient in my testosterone and thyroid and asked if I wanted to supplement. And I said, well, what for? Like, what do I
Right.
need this for? Like, what symptoms will I experience? What improvement will I notice if I do? And brain clarity was one of them, muscle tone, energy. And so I said, sure. And I started on a really small dose of both. And I'm still on the exact same dose today.
Wow.
So I don't know. My mom went the real natural route. Wasn't really sure if she wanted to supplement her hormones, and was kind of like in the philosophy that if you supplement with hormones that you could cause cancer and things like that,
Right.
which I totally understand. And she struggled with some migraines through menopause, and I just thought, you know what, I don't want that to happen to me.
Yeah,
And I
you're
was
like, I've had enough shit. Thanks.
yeah, I'm just a little worried about that. And so I've been really happy with where I've been at so far.
Mm-hmm.
I just recently started just this month with progesterone cream. So maybe, I don't know. I haven't really noticed
Did
any
you find that
menopause
the
yet.
testosterone increased your libido? Because I have friends right now who are using it for that and they're like, oh my God, it's amazing. Thank God.
No, I
No.
definitely didn't have. No, maybe I need to have some more. But
You're
no,
like, I need an IV drip of it, please.
maybe the goop. What is it, like the DTF
Yeah, I don't know.
supplement
But
that
if
they
you,
have?
I don't know, my friends are swearing by it.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
No, I didn't notice it like that drastically, to be
Okay.
honest. Like I knew that was something that I could bring, and I was always down for that.
Got it.
But I maybe I need to take more.
You're like, maybe I need to take a bath in it. I know. I just got a
Body
prescription.
lotion.
I know.
I don't know.
I just got a prescription for vaginal estrogen.
Okay.
So I'm like, it's like staring at me in my drawer. I'm like,
Have you been on estrogen already?
well, you don't want to hear this because I know I've been taking birth control pills for basically my whole life.
Oh, wow.
But now at almost age 48, I think I'm going to have to switch to HRT.
Okay.
Yeah. and I'm dreading it because my birth control pill journey has been like heaven for me.
Oh,
Literally. Which is interesting because my daughter tried birth control pills and she hated it.
yeah.
Hated it. And for me, it's like my, like when I had to go off to get pregnant, I thought I was going crazy.
Yeah.
It's like my
Oh,
body just like is addicted to it.
oh no.
But I think now I've had all this spotting and weird stuff this year. I feel like I'm at that stage where they're like,
Yeah.
okay, well, we might have to switch you to the next thing. And I'm like, just give me another month,
I
one more month.
know.
Yeah.
Are you going to the same doctor that's known you from the very
No,
beginning?
no, 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 no. But I consult with a few different doctors, and I'm looking forward to finding a solution and like not having all the spotting that I've never had before, because it's
Totally.
really, really annoying. So I think come January, when the holidays are over and everything kind of calms down a little
Yeah,
bit, then I'd be willing to kind of like reassess. It's so
totally.
hard to change up your stuff because
Oh
you're
yeah.
like, I feel sort of normal now. Imagine what I'd be like if I kind of took my whole foundation away. So I have to be like mentally prepared for that. I think my husband has to be mentally prepared for that.
Well, can you do it gradually off of one as you're doing something else so it's not just like a cold turkey
Birth
experience?
control pills are pretty much, you either take them or you don't.
Okay.
So I don't know, because I haven't gotten into the details of it because I've been avoiding it. I don't know what the exact transition is when you go from one to the other, but hormone replacement is a lot less estrogen than birth control pills. So I'm like, okay, hopefully I won't feel super weird for a really long time.
I know. And maybe if you start the cream now,
I
right?
know. So, well, the cream is not like it's not systemic. So it doesn't go through your whole body, which is the
Oh,
beautiful part of vaginal estrogen, which a
okay.
lot of doctors talk about. And I hope more people hear about it, is it literally just stays in that area. And they're basically saying that using vaginal estrogen is like something that's almost all of us should be using for vaginal atrophy, dryness, just all vagina health. And they're saying there's really not a lot of downsides.
Right. That sounds amazing.
It sounds amazing. But then I heard this other amazing gynecologist speak, and she was saying that there's this pill now that you insert inside of you. And I just got a prescription for it. And I'm like, okay, do I want to do the cream or do I want to do the pill? And the pill that you insert is only twice a week. So I'm like, maybe I'll do that because that just sounds less messy.
Do you have to do the cream every day?
The way all of them work, is my understanding of it, is you do it every day for 2 weeks and then you do it twice a week for the rest of your life.
Oh,
And it's supposed to be like God's gift to mankind.
really? You have
Yes.
girlfriends that have experienced it?
Yes.
Cool.
Testosterone and vaginal estrogen. So I'm like, okay, I'm willing to try something. Like if they're, I think some people have concerns of it because if they have breast cancer or things like that in their family, but everyone has to consult their doctor.
Yep.
But they're saying, generally speaking,
Yeah.
most women will benefit from vaginal estrogen.
It
And
always blows my
it
mind.
doesn't run through your whole body.
How is that possible? I
I
don't, that
know.
blows my mind.
I
But
don't
it just
know.
stays right there. Like when I get
Mhm.
Botox, they're like, it just stays right there. And I'm like, really? Not possible. Okay.
I know. I'm like, whatever. At this point, like people are like, oh, you shouldn't take birth control pills for so many years and this and that. And I'm like, you know what? At a certain point, like you said, in terms of bio individuality, like
Yes.
everybody has to do what they have to do to make themselves feel the best they can. Yes,
Yeah.
there are, physical limitations and you don't want to cause other sicknesses and this and that. But it's
Right.
like for me, like my mom started menopause at 42 and
Uh-huh.
I'm 48.
Right.
And she went straight from birth control pills to HRT. And that was
Oh,
at a time when they were saying cancer, 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 when that study came out. And she just
right.
said to her doctor, like, for me personally, I would rather have quality of life
Yes.
than the alternative.
Yes.
So, I mean, in her favor, it ended up being that the study had issues and all of that, but at least she's gotten so many years of benefits from HRT.
Yeah.
and I just feel like because I've been on birth control pills for so long, my body wouldn't be able to tolerate not having estrogen.
No. Yeah, I think
I'm
that's wise.
apparently an estrogen junkie. Um, okay, let's talk about foam rolling. I see you in your
Oh,
foam roller.
yeah. Do
Yeah.
you foam roll? I love it.
I do, but I'm not 100% great at it. Like it's not part of my everyday.
Yeah. Do you like the way it feels when you
I
do it?
do, but it
Yeah.
hurts like a mother.
Oh, do you have a soft or medium foam or hard foam? Like, I
I
think
think
that
I
makes
have
a
a
difference.
medium and I also have a vibrating one.
Oh, I like that too.
It's painful.
It can be,
Like
yeah.
on your IT bands. Ooh.
I,
So what's your foam rolling technique? I know you follow Lauren Roxborough.
yes. I love her. I have her roller. It's a medium density. I'm 5'11". I tend to have bad posture. So my favorite thing to do is just put it vertical on the ground, lay on it, and let my shoulders just
Me
fall
too.
back. I mean, that
So
is,
good. I know we even bought a short one for our trip.
oh, good for you.
Yeah, because I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm crumpled and hunched over.
Yeah, doesn't it just sort of like work out all the kinks?
I
That's what I
know.
love
And I
about
kept
it.
leaving it in the family room, and my husband's like OCD. He's like, why is this in here? I'm like, because if it's in the gym, I'm not going to the gym to use it. But if it's sitting
Oh,
on the side of the sofa, I might actually use
exactly.
it.
We have to leave all of our little like wellness things
Totally.
out just to
Yes.
see them. I know.
He's like, is this a fucking scavenger hunt? I'm like, yes. Yes, it's a midlife scavenger hunt. That's what it is.
I love that. That's
Yes.
adorable.
It's
Will
like
he
there's
use it too?
magnesium. Yeah, he does, but he's like,
Yeah.
can't you walk into the gym? And I'm like, that's too far. And I
Yeah.
actually have to think about it. But if I see my shit all over the house, then I'm going to do it more.
That's exactly why I love the rebounder. Is because the barrier to entry is one step. I
Okay,
don't have to
everyone,
do.
the rebounder is her trampoline. Let's talk about this. If I have one, but
Uh-huh.
don't you ever have to pee?
Yeah, I did feel like that initially, but I
Oh, do
don't
you get over
anymore.
that? Oh, really?
Yes.
So
Yeah,
how often do you do it?
maybe like every day, every other day.
And you
But
don't do that as your exercise.
I can, and I have, but I mix it up. So like every day it's a 5-minute bounce.
And that's
Yeah.
just for the lymphatic drainage.
Yeah, to wake up, drain the lymph, wake up, just sort of, get my body moving
You
before
have
I.
so many Adderall Abbie things. It's like you dry brush, you cold plunge, you
True.
rebound.
Oh my gosh, you're saying exactly what my acupuncturist said. She was like, you have a lot of stimulating things.
Wow. I'm
So
like
she's
the
like,
opposite. I'm like fucking nap time. I'm like
she says, I need more of
siesta.
that. She's like,
Oh,
now is a good time. It's winter. Just like do like more nourishing things. I'm like, okay.
like maybe a soup instead of a salad.
Yeah. More
Yeah.
sauna instead of cold plunge.
Yeah. I can get cozy quickly.
I'm
I
like,
don't
let's
even
go. What are we going to do? What
I'm
next?
like, okay, I'll stay in bed until noon in Utah when everyone else is skiing. Like the
Oh,
thought of
wow.
being in that cold is so hard for me.
Oh,
We
wow.
do it every year and I love it once I get there because I love just the mountains and the
Yeah.
snow.
Yes. Yeah.
But the cold is so hard.
You just bundle up and just go out with a hot cocoa or what? Like you won't.
Yeah, I do it, but it's like every time I do it, I'm like, okay, my pinky in my boot is frozen. I have like all I have all of these
You need the
issues.
little warmers in your boots.
I
I
know.
know.
My husband always says that Jewish women are much more sensitive,
Hmm.
you
I'm sure
know?
it's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that.
Like everything. Like
Okay, let's
everything.
talk about your exercise routine.
I mean, I love to move. Movement is medicine. I've had to, accommodate my aging body as I've grown older. So I've had to find other ways to move. Why the rebounder has felt good. It's easier on my joints. I used to run. I used to do yoga. My orthopedic surgeon told me that I need to stop both of those.
Oh,
I was born naturally flexible. So when I would do yoga, I would just rest in my ligaments. And I have a torn labrum in my hip. So I incorporated swimming. I swim with a group of women at least once a week. I picked that up later in life. I feel like it's the most adventurous thing I do is like swimming in the rain outside. I mean, it's not even adventurous when you're wet.
But are you swimming in the ocean?
We swim in a pool. It's an outdoor
Okay.
pool. It's gorgeous. It's really fun.
And are you just swimming laps? Are you racing? What are you doing?
We do. We swim laps. We used to have a coach before COVID, and she would, watch our strokes. She would teach us how to swim like a group of women. It was called Swim Like a Mother. And it was like, we were all,
I love it.
it was really, really great. She, we weren't even able to swim with the masters. Like some of the women that I swim with used to swim in college. They hadn't swam for a while. We were all looking for an alternative way to, stay active. And this woman that we knew was as a coach and put a group together for all the moms. And I just fell in love with it. I mean, it is like an all over body workout, but you're in the water and it just feels otherworldly sometimes. I don't know. It's beautiful. You kick on your back and look at the clouds. And so I love to swim. I walk, I hike, I do the rebounder. Like I have a trainer, we do Pilates and strength training because we all know as we age, we need to work on our muscles and
Oh
build
my gosh,
muscle, which
boy,
is
do I know that.
so hard. But I do feel like I've gotten a little bit more limited in my movement, which is why I have a trainer because, I feel like I'm more injury prone than ever before. And I want to work out to stay more active.
Have you
And
done a bone density test yet?
it's on the list. It's
I
coming up.
know. With your colonoscopy too. That's hot. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
I know. I've got a long list of things I
I
need to
know,
do.
but I feel like the list doesn't end.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like I check off the blood work. Okay, yeah. Okay, I got this. Yeah. And then I get like the mammogram reminder. I'm like, didn't I just do something? Didn't I just get my teeth cleaned 5 minutes ago?
But honestly, like I will do whatever I have to do to
I
keep
know.
living this life. I'm so like, I don't like doing any of it, but I'm just like so grateful that we do have
I know.
access to all of this. So I'm just like, okay, here we go. We're doing it again. I
I
know.
mean, you could spend your entire day doing like alternative things, like, oh, and then I had the
Yeah.
lymphatic massage, and then
Yeah.
I had acupuncture, and
Oh,
then I took a bath in testosterone.
exactly.
Right? I
Yeah,
mean, oh my
for
God.
sure.
And okay, so let's talk about as we wrap up, like what would you say in this whole journey, even though, you and I are on the younger side of the journey, like what would your biggest piece of advice be to midlife women who are kind of in this self-reinvention journey?
Like, don't listen to anybody's advice but your own. I mean, I know that that might not be very helpful, but I just feel like one of the reasons why I do House of Abbie is just for me to share my story because I do feel like there's so much benefit when we know we're not the only one going through something. That's why I love what you talk about on your channel, The Flexible Neurotic, is because you're bringing just light to all of our current experiences. And I don't know, I believe sharing is caring. So I try to just share my story and talk about what I'm going through. And it feels good when you're not like the only one, but you can also like laugh together and cry together. And I just want to be less prescriptive with myself. And I hope that other people don't feel like they need to be like prescriptive with themselves either. Like as I'm aging and getting older, I want to learn to love myself more and allow myself to be all that I am. And I just feel like in this culture and society, I have been totally susceptible to just like trying to be like a certain type of person. And there's nothing outside of myself that is better than just like falling deeper into like who I am. And it's like, I want to be like more of me and less of anything to aspire to be.
Totally, I get
I feel
that.
like that's like the freedom of what midlife gives us is the accountable, like just being accountable for who you are and just like letting it be what it is.
So would you say the key to like finding your way in midlife is this kind of like presence? but it's not unsupervised presence. It's not just like
Yeah,
being here, but it's like being here with an intention or a plan.
for sure.
Like you're not just letting sickness happen to you and letting things be as they are. It's like you're being present, but you're also intentionally trying to do healthy things for your body, make good choices, but not be perfect.
Well, awareness is everything.
Yeah.
And I think being able to speak to your truth is the awareness that matters. It's like being aware of how you feel. And don't you think midlife gives you the certain voice that you just feel like, fuck it, I can just say how I feel at this point because I've earned the right at this point.
I've earned it, baby. Now, in terms of House of Abbie, like, are you seeing this as like a business or are you seeing it as a hobby? Like, where are you in that? Like, do you have a plan?
It's so interesting.
People
I don't
always
know.
ask me that. And I'm
I
like, I
know.
don't know.
I don't know. I enjoy it so much. I feel like it is such a loving, friendly, creative community.
Me too.
And so I show up when I want to show up. And I'm so used to being on the other side of things. So like when I, was working and I was like working with brand ambassadors, I had my platform, but it was from the business side of things. So being a brand ambassador has been fun. I mean, there's a lot of great companies out there. I love to stay engaged with brands that I really like. So it is a business in the way that I do represent other brands that I am a fan of.
Mm-hmm.
But the big picture, I don't know where I want it to go. I'm
But
not
for
sure.
now you love it and you see it as like a creative outlet for yourself.
Totally. Yeah, I think it's great. I love
And
the way.
you don't get lost in like the metrics of Instagram and all of that.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. I don't have like any like numbers or goals or plans in that regard. It's like, what is my voice and what do I really feel like is worth sharing and putting out there? Um, everyone loves links. I guess that's the nature of Instagram is everyone's like,
Yeah.
can you link your shirt
I
and link
know. I'm
this?
like,
And it's like,
ah,
oh shit, I'm not a fashionista. Like
I
that's like the
know.
hardest thing for me.
Me too.
But I do love meeting people like you. And I mean, it just like opens up your world. I mean, social media has so many beautiful benefits. And I feel like my community is so loving and supportive. And it's like, why would I not want to keep that going?
Do you like for women who are listening who are like, but I don't know what to do with my life? Like, I have this hobby or I have that hobby. Like, what do you say to them about? I think so many of us get caught in this, like, I need to start a company and what's
Yeah,
my product and
sure.
what's this? And it sounds to me like you're saying just share what you love and everything else kind of comes with it.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I totally understand why they feel like that. They probably want something and they probably have something to offer. But I feel like what's the rush? It's like, why can we not just let things unfold a little bit more naturally? That's what I'm working on. So it's not that I feel like I'm different than them. I do feel like that sometimes too, but I'm trying to like, what am I rushing towards? Like, if I want to do a company, do it. Like, and what am I like, why do I want to do it? Or what do I want to do? I'm just kind of like trying to personally not put so much pressure on myself
Me
because
too.
like,
It's really hard when you're used to a very linear life
yeah,
and everything's very like performance driven. Like even
yes,
with your kids, you're like, okay, the kids like do this and then they get this and then they take this test and whatever. But I
yeah,
feel like when you get into midlife, it's fewer benchmarks and it's more
yeah.
curvy linear and like mishy wishy washy. And it's not as clear. The path isn't as clear.
It's accepting that we are human beings and you're giving yourself more time to be and less of a human doing. We don't have to do as much, but yes, we could have a whole laundry list of wellness things that we could do if we want, but we really don't need to. And I think like, I'm trying to just give myself more time to see the sunset and really experience it and go from that place of inside and then having it be a creation for the future as opposed to just what do I need to do mentally, figure it out and then make it happen. I want to be a little bit slower with it to make sure that it feels like a real true expression of what I want. And what do I really want to put out in the world?
I know. And who am I?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think
There's always that little
yeah,
question.
I mean, it seems so basic, but it's really a question to ask yourself. It's like, who am I now in midlife? Now that, my kids are older,
Mhm,
my husband's doing his thing, I'm doing
mhm.
my thing. Like, where do we meet in the middle of all of this? Like, what's my new label? Do I need a label? Do I just want the label because it makes me feel more comfortable? It's like, it's all of these feelings. And like you said, I think part of the beauty of this whole midlife journey is knowing that other women are feeling the same way, not because you want other people to be miserable or frustrated also,
No.
but because it's like, it's so reassuring when you're like, I'm not the only one. Like, I'm
Yeah,
not the only one feeling like shit today, you
totally.
know?
I want to be really careful and intentional with my social media in that way. It's like, I don't want to come off like I have my shit together. Some days I personally feel like I do. And I'm like, yay, go
Yeah,
girl. Like,
totally,
this
totally.
is a moment, embrace it.
I know. And
And then,
some days I'm like, I took a shower. That's awesome.
yeah, we are winning. Your hair's looking good today. I mean, that's a lot. Like, we are going to be
Oh my
rejoicing in that.
God. I'm like, I washed the Rogaine out this morning.
It's so good. But I
Uh,
just don't want to be that woman that people feel like I'm going to should you to death. Like we should be
yeah.
doing this and we should, be doing that. It's like, no, we're all just trying to figure it out. We're all figuring out together and there's beauty in numbers.
Yeah. And I also feel like we are all looking to set our midlife tables,
Hmm.
and creating a seat at your own table
Yeah.
is so empowering.
Yes.
Because I feel like in high school, there's this idea of like everyone wants to be the same at the lunch
Yeah.
table. Everybody wants to look the same. Everyone wants to be the same. But I think one of the benefits of midlife is sort of that being okay and being confident enough to be you, to choose you, whatever that looks like. Some of us are going to be jumping on trampolines and others of us are going to be like, get that trampoline away from me.
Totally.
you know?
100%. I mean, it would be so boring if we were all the same.
I know. And I think that's part of the beauty of midlife,
Yeah.
is that it's like, we don't all have to be the same,
Mhm.
that we all can be uniquely ourselves. Now, where can listeners find you?
On Instagram at House of Abbie.
Spell Abbie for us.
Yes. Abbie.
Okay, you guys have to check out her Instagram. She's jumping, she's cold plunging, she's swimming in oceans, she's doing all the things I don't do. She's getting wet every single day. She's probably that means you have to wash your hair every day.
So I don't always dunk my head in the cold plunge for that
Okay.
reason exactly. If I'm having a bad hair day or if I'm going to swim in the pool, I will plan it out and I will dunk my head. But I don't like to wash my hair every day because I don't like to put
Oh,
that much time into my hair.
it's so much work, right?
Like, how many days now will you get to enjoy your beautiful hair?
Mm, 4.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah, 4. And
Yeah.
there's a little dry shampoo and there's a few
Yeah.
ponytails and I can't do it every day.
What dry shampoo do you like?
Um, what's the brand? I mean, I use a few different ones. I
Okay.
use what's that? How do you say it? OUAI Way.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like a
Yeah.
texture. I use like a
Oh,
texturizing spray from
okay.
them. Um, and then I have another one. It's like a dry shampoo. I think it's made by Playa. It's like a
Okay.
powder.
Okay. I don't have one. I need to get
Oh
one.
my God. But you're gonna have to play around with it because everybody likes different textures. Some people like spray, some people like powders.
I think I like a spray. I tried one once, but because I have some of these earrings up here, they actually infected my piercings. And so I was
Ooh.
like, okay, yeah. So I've only
Well,
tried
there's
one.
always the cover the ear and spray.
True.
Because I use
Okay.
hairspray also, and I have to
Okay.
cover my earrings, Jennifer Fisher said, from the hairspray.
Yes, we do. Good tip. She's a pro.
Okay, Abbie Crane, integrated health coach, brand marketer, nutrition enthusiast, and mother of 3 boys, creator of the House of Abbie Instagram platform, fellow midlifer. Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for chatting all things midlife. Happy to call you a new friend and fab guest of the Flexible Neurotic podcast. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. What a joy.
I think there's some crazy statistic that 75% is not gene-based. It's lifestyle-based. So
Can we talk about the anti-inflammatory eating?
Yeah,
and all
we're
that
gonna
stuff?
do that
that's
right
the biggest,
now.
That's the biggest thing. And that's part of the reason why I started it for other reasons, but it's really changed everything in my life by eating this way. And